This
Welcome,
conference will now be recorded.
welcome everybody to the Thursday, December 9th, 2021 meeting of the Monterey Select Board here in Town Hall, beautiful downtown Monterey. I am Stephen Weiss, the chair. To my right is,
Justin Matos.
and John Weingold is absent. So we're gonna just jump right into it. We've got a few things today, and let's get going. The first one, posting on YouTube, old business, posting on YouTube prior to September 22nd. The agreement, I'm still waiting from SAG-AFTRA for the agreement. So I would move that we put that off until our next meeting, which is here. Okay, so we'll do that. New business, electronic voting options / pricing.
I just provided you with a little summary. I don't think you're gonna be making any decisions, but. Right.
Well, these are things that, so, there's one that is an app.
It wasn't really clear. It sounded like you had to have an app downloaded, but you also need the keypads.
It would make sense if they were, well, although not everybody has smartphones, but it would make sense that if it was an app plus, other units, if somebody didn't have a smartphone.
Well, I'm not sure because that one runs on radio frequency, so,
Really?
yeah. I can get more information on the products
Well-
themselves, but these were the revised quotes based on 150 voters versus the 300 that they had.
So by the way, if anybody wants to make a lot of money, I suggest that they invent an app to be used at town meetings.
So, yeah, the one, question I had was the 150, is that, is that high enough?
I'll double check with the clerk, but I don't think we've ever gotten over like 130 was maybe our max voters in a meeting,
Okay.
but I'll double check with her.
Because it would be a problem if we didn't have enough, right?
Mhm.
But I would think other towns have that problem too. I mean, even like Great Barrington, I don't know, they don't do they do electronic, or Sheffield, you said Sheffield.
Sheffield does it, Lennox does it. Who was it on the internet?
Lee, and it says Lee here.
Yeah. I mean, they're not gonna, none of them are gonna purchase one for every registered voter, I would think.
No, not that,
But yeah,
it just brought up the question, because you don't wanna buy a bunch of extras that you're never gonna use, but you don't wanna run out.
that's
So-
why, I think that's why rental option, if I were to, I mean, obviously, we'll have a discussion about this, but my personal choice would be rental, not only because of the technology change, but also because, that you would have, rental company would bring, 200 of them. But anyway, but I'm telling you, I'm gonna go ahead and invent an app. People can use on their phone. All right, you wanna move on to the next item?
Sure.
Can you make a copy of this and give it to the chair of finance committee so that they can,
The voting thing?
so they can be,
I'll give it to her.
Justin, would that make sense?
Yeah.
To get them, to enlighten them a little bit about just what we're talking about here, because this is, anything that we're contemplating that's gonna be an expenditure, it's always good to give a heads up to the finance committee, just so that they can have their own individual, so we're not just putting it in front of them during budget season and telling them to make a decision. Also, electronic voting, automobile deductibles increase quote. Okay, so I did see that.
Yeah, so when I met with her, for our yearly review, I think Steve, you had stopped in and asked about our deductibles, and she provided us a quote if we were to increase the automobile deductible from 500 to 1,000.
Mhm.
And if you wanted to do that, we would get a savings of $1,456.
I found with insurance policies, that deductibles, people always think, well, I'm gonna have a small deductible because I don't wanna pay out. But if there's an actual incident that is going to require us to go out to the insurance company, it's gonna be something that's gonna be substantial, in my experience. And sometimes, it pays to raise the deductible, and see how much you can actually save. So I just done that on my house, and actually had substantial savings. So I did, over to Melissa's office, and I did say, could you just find out for us how much the town would save? Seems like a substantial savings. The savings actually, the savings is larger than the difference between the $500 deductible and the $1,000 deductible. So we're basically paying, in my mind, we're paying $500 to get back if there's an incident of $1,456. I believe that it would make sense for the town to save a little money to do that.
Yeah. I guess, it would just, the only way we would lose money is if we had 3 or more incidents in 1 year.
True. So how many claims do we traditionally, so that's a good question. So how many traditionally?
In the last 3 years, I think we've had two vehicle claims.
So we'd have to have 3 claims essentially.
Yeah.
To not make it worthwhile.
Yeah.
And I think if we have 3 claims, then I think we need to look at something else that's going on in town other than the deductibles.
Yeah, no, I think it seems like a good thing to do.
Okay, so I would make a motion, to increase our automobile deductibles to $1,000.
Second,
I vote yes?
yes.
Yes. Opioid settlement.
I provided you with all the council opinion and the most recent contact from the AG's office. They'd like for towns to sign on. I know we originally talked about not doing it because we didn't have an issue here, but the more towns that sign on, the monies could be transferred to the state to use. So they're encouraging all towns to do it. You don't have to make a decision today. We have until the end of the month. I think they're hoping to have everything in by mid-month, but January 2nd is the deadline, so.
The decision that we received was from our town council.
Yes, there is the last piece of paper that says KP Law update.
So joining this class action is not going to cost the town any money in legal fees, is it?
It does not say that in KP Laws, only if we're represented by another firm. They recommend signing and submitting the agreement forwarded by the Attorney General. But you can take another week to review it.
Again, I just wanted specifically, I don't see any language in the letter from KP Law that says the town is not going to bear any expense of attorney fees. I want that specified. Because, I understand the reasoning behind joining a class action, and personally, I'm happy to participate in with other towns, but I just want to find out what the ramifications are as far as cost to the town. I'm gonna table this to the next session, see if we can get an answer from KP Law.
Yes.
gonna do that. Investigation update. So, the main reason why we're here, I think. So, I did notice that there's, so did you get a chance to read it?
Yes.
So the only thing is, the first paragraph, is, it says, this will confirm that you, on behalf of the town of Monterey, the town, have retained Green and Paper LLC to conduct investigations for recent complaints made by several town residents. It's not, it's the complaints were made by several town employees.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to prevent what, you know.
No, I'm just
Yeah.
saying, let's put a line through it and put employees instead of residents. They're not residents, some of these employees are not town residents.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, it is the case.
And that's
So we were supposed to do two copies, right? One that we're gonna email to her and one to keep for the files.
Yeah, so if you just sign one is fine, because
we could just put that line, change
I'll
it,
scan them.
we'll both initial the change, just one change, and then we'll find it. But that's the only change that I see here.
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't have a copy, we don't have a
You
copy.
have the original, you can just sign the one, because I'm
Oh,
gonna
there's no-
scan
there are no
it, and
lines?
I'll keep
They
it.
didn't put lines for signature?
On the bottom.
Oh, it's a separate page.
It's
Oh,
3 pages, yeah.
Yeah.
I have a copy here, if you,
I think I gave you.
Let's use your copy.
so,
You just cross out residents and employees. And then put your initial after that. Okay, so
what date is 12?
It's the 9th.
It's a palindrome beat, 12921.
it is. Maybe that's why I was hit by a bird on the way over here. Hopefully he survived. Okay, next thing is approve the minutes of 12/1. And, okay, so 12/1, I also made,
Both of your edits are in there, they should show up as a slightly different shade of a color.
okay, okay, so in 12/1, so in 12/1, I just added, on the number 3, I think I'm the first change.
Yes.
I just added that, that I did make a recommendation to review past COLA adjustments.
How you doing?
Hey.
Anybody that could take a check for me for the electrical inspector? Oh, there you are, right there, sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I agree, that's,
No, what's the next one?
I see a line here.
On the first page? No, I think that's just a, that's printed, printer is making. I didn't change anything to anything else on the first page.
Sometimes it's the formatting.
Oh, yeah, like if I put a space. in
Yeah.
there, yeah, something. I wrote requests for documents made of Terry Walker. John will continue to work with Terry on these requests to determine what has been fulfilled and what is left to complete, if anything.
I've got no problem with that.
The comma was added after appointed.
Where's that?
Point four.
Oh, yeah, okay, that didn't come up on mine, but yeah, I put it in the comment.
Justin agreed with suspending further appointments to the committee.
Fine, I thought I added something else on that, maybe not, okay. Okay, so we both had something to number 6. So I just clarified, I wrote he decided to file the offense by John McWongold Esquire. Since Mr. Wongold's accusation seemed very hypocritical, I just add, and
then I just changed what I said to read, Justin stated that as discussed last week, when the board receives a complaint naming a specific individual, especially when the actions alleged to be in violation of the OML, only where the actions of one member, that individual should be responsible for responding.
that's fine.
Steve stated.
Oh, yeah, so this, I wanted to, I did state this and I'd like this in the record. Steve stated that, it was unneighborly, to post signs that would upset others, but agreed with Justin. That the board would not pursue it any further.
And then for Jerry Clarence, I would just, there's a little typo.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, the H is going on in my laptop, so,
Okay,
so, yeah, there might be a few of those. I don't know what to do about it, because it's just the H. Great.
and then I just had 2 changes. Michelle stands clarified town council
Mhm.
and the new council contact policy. It said new policy, which people could read into, I just added
Okay, good.
council.
Okay, so, I make a motion to approve, the minutes of 12/1 as amended by Justin and myself.
Second.
So I'm gonna, we'll sign your copy, I'll put my copy away. This next one, I think I only made, oh, it was very short anyway. Okay, so,
I rewrote the sentence to the board agrees that the current environment is not conducive to taking an open-minded, thorough, and long-term look at whether a charter is right for Monterey. Until,
oh, like, the board agreed currently is not conducive. Oh, they're not conducive to talking, to taking an open-minded, thorough, and long-term look at whether a charter is right for Monterey. Fine, Steve noted that one of them just received an email, which Steve found to be trivial. Oh, comma, that is. What?
it
Okay.
just wants to read until this stops, right?
So, yeah, so one would put, he felt, or he explained, he stated that until this stops, we can't be productive with forward-thinking movement for Monterey. So, and then,
Justin agreed that it is a timely matter, but suggested the board meet later this week with an edited agreement to sign.
okay, fine.
which is what we're doing right now.
That's exactly what we're doing right now. And the rest of it, I don't.
You added the word convention, so.
Oh, I just added the word conventions, yeah. So I make a motion to approve the minutes as of December 6th, 2021.
Second.
Yes.
Yes.
To the file, good. Board of Health appointment, Mort Salomon.
Until the May election, they're recommending.
Okay, so to the May election and then,
I can walk through into the position.
so I move, that we appoint Mort Salomon to the Board of Health until his term running until the election in May. Have a second?
Second.
I vote yes.
Yes. And so, then there will be 2 seats on the board of Alderman, right? Because Roy was just elected this past year.
No, he'll be running to fulfill Roy's seat,
Okay.
so it'll still remain staggered. I mean, there'll be 2 seats running, but then.
Julio's term is up?
Let me, let me look.
I mean, it doesn't, he's until the May election either way, right? I was just curious.
Yeah, me too.
So. Roy was up in 2021 and Julio is up in 2022.
So, more,
I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong one, sorry. Roy was up in 2024 and Julio was up in 2022, so Mort would go until 2024.
Wait.
Mort
Oh,
will
right,
run for the
yeah.
remainder of Roy's term,
if he wants.
if he wants.
Yeah. Right now, he's going until May.
Good, one position. Okay, things were going so nicely. I'm sorry, everybody. I have to read a response to the open meeting law complaint against some fellow named Stephen Weiss, filed by John Weingold. So I'm just gonna go ahead and, I prepared the answer. I'm gonna read it. And we'll just move on from there. Dear Mr. Weingold, dated November, wait, is it dated?
Oh, that's my fault, sorry.
To change the date.
I can fix it.
Should be dated December
Yes,
9th, 2021, we'll change that. Dear Mr. Weingold, okay. Unlike the complainant, John Weingold, the 2 other members of the Monterey Select Board are not attorneys, and therefore guidance was sought from the Monterey Town Attorney for the drafting and impanelment of an executive session. On October 29th, the chair consulted the town attorney for advice on whether to hold the aforementioned discussion in open or executive session. The town attorney approved an open session, but cautioned the chair that if any names of the employees were to be used, then the session must be an executive session or face an OML violation. Since the scope of the investigation was to include discussions about investigative services concerning complaints filed against individual employees, unquote, which could include their names, the chair thought it prudent to have this meeting in executive session. A notice of executive session was drafted to be as specific as possible, the opposite of Mr. Weingold's contention, copy and close. That notice clearly explains to each employee why the meeting is being held in executive session. And here's a quote from that. As complaints or charges have been filed against you as a town employee, your name and the name of your accuser may be used during this meeting and thus presents you as a subject of the executive session, end quote. The notice was sent to the town attorney for approval on October 29th, copy and closed. On November 1st, the town attorney replied with, quote, the notice as drafted is acceptable as to form, end quote, copy and closed. Once approved by town council, the notices were distributed. It should be noted that the town attorney did okay the hand delivery of notices to any employees present in town hall, despite Mr. Weingold's contention that it is somehow not proper. Lastly, it should be noted that all board members, including Mr. Weingold, were informed that the notice was approved by town council. Mr. Weingold even refers to it in his complaint. It should be further noted that if Mr. Weingold doubted the chair, he was certainly free to contact town council to inquire. So the question is, why would Mr. Weingold, an attorney at law, file a complaint to the Attorney General when he was fully aware that all actions were vetted by legal counsel, properly served, and explained to him in a select board session? Question mark. The answer may lay in the fact that an OML complaint was filed against Mr. Weingold by the chair a few days prior to the filing of this complaint, 2021. And that this complaint may just be a reaction to it, with no real understanding of what action there is to correct. This is evident by the complainant himself, who, in the quote, "What action do you want the public body to take?" section writes, quote, "I have no idea what can be done, ... end quote. Perhaps the Attorney General would recommend to the complainant, Mr. Weingold, that what can be done is to A, verify all facts before submitting complaints, and B, resist the temptation to file open meeting law complaints of a retaliatory nature. That would be the chair's recommendation. Respectfully, Stephen Wise, Chair of Monterey Select Board. And there is a signature line for you, Justin, if you feel that this is a worthwhile answer.
Yeah.
So if you guys wanna sign the second page, I'll just replace the first page with the right date. And I fixed your,
She's just gonna change the date, by the way, to the first page. Stop living in the past, Melissa.
I don't know. Learn from your mistakes, right?
Okay, back to being nice. Review mail and any correspondence to be sent or signed.
None.
There are none. Comments and questions from the public? Anything out there in TV land? Nothing? Okay, there being no comments or questions of the public, anything from you, Justin?
No.
All right, then we're going to, our next meeting will be Wednesday, December 15th, at 6 PM. And therefore I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Yes? Okay, thank you, everybody.